When looking at Rose's abortion death, I'm not sure what I should focus on, the failed cover-up or the successful defense. This is Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and today is January 29th. Welcome to the Sisyphean Journal, where we talk about women's abortion deaths and how they can be prevented. Of course, I would prefer that the abortions not happen, but if it's going to happen, can we stand between the woman and the fatal aspects? Quackery, poor follow-up, who knows? That's what we're here to talk about. Today, we are looking at the 1936 death of a homemaker and mother of two named Rose. She was 32 years old when she died at Riverdale or Riverside, I've seen both names, hospital in New York on January 29th of 1936. She was buried the very next day. After the funeral, several people, including an anonymous caller, contacted the police and the district attorney's office to say that Rose's death had been suspicious. The medical examiner ordered that her body be exhumed, and that is when they found out that Rose had actually died from complications of an abortion. And I've said this before, if you follow the channel at all, anybody could call and say that an abortion death was suspicious, and I've seen cases where the woman was exhumed years later. The abortion uncovered, and the abortionist sought out and prosecuted. So it wasn't simply an easy thing to just put something fake on the death certificate. Anybody, the woman's neighbor, family member, friends, anybody who reported to the police that this seemed fishy would launch an investigation, because you need to remember that death from an illegal abortion was homicide. It wasn't just, malpractice. These things happen. All surgery has a risk. Like it is today. You could get in real trouble if an abortion patient died. Well, Maxwell Katz, who owned the hospital, had signed a death certificate indicating that Rose had been operated there for a tumor. So it was pretty easy to see who had had his hand in the death, and he was arraigned for second-degree manslaughter. Now, during his trial, the defense brought forth a large number of witnesses testifying that Katz was a very reputable physician. He was a good doctor, and they insisted that he had only been performing the abortion in an attempt to save her life. And the defense worked. Katz was acquitted. And that brings me to something that we really need to talk about, which is it was legal to do an abortion in a good faith attempt to save the woman's life. There was nothing criminal about it. You were allowed to try to save her life. In fact, there was a gruesome instrument called a cranioclast that was used before it became safe to do C-sections, where if the woman had obstructed labor, which was just her pelvis was too small or malformed for the baby's head to pass through, they'd use the cranioclast to crush the baby's head and enable the rest of the baby to be delivered. Now, the cranioclast was only to be used after the baby had died, but, could you prove that the baby was dead before the doctor used the cranioclast? But it's ridiculous to think that they would invent an instrument to do something that was completely illegal. Okay? So this idea that doctors were forced to just stand by helplessly and watch their patients die, that was not true. If they, in good faith, believed that this abortion was necessary, they were legally allowed to do it. The question is, why did Katz not simply document in Rose's medical records? And why did he not fill out a legitimate death certificate? Now, he said that it was to protect the family. But, I have problems with that. Even if he was going to falsify the death certificate to protect her family, Well, first of all, if this abortion was necessary to save her life, it wouldn't ruin her reputation. This would be life-saving surgery any more than treatment for an ectopic pregnancy would ruin even a pro-life woman's reputation now. And why would you not document in the medical records, which would not become public unless the death became public and the fact that it was related to an abortion became public? So this is something that I really think we need to talk about. So I'd like your comments below. Please get the conversation started and then join in if it's already down there.